in the coldest corners of the earth where nature feels eternal. A silent invader has risen. It has brought in billions of dollars in profit, yet left behind a trail of destruction. For Alaskan fishermen, it's a treasure. For scientists, it's a ruthless predator, ripping apart the northern seas. A billion-dollar crab, celebrated by some, despised by others. But what is it really doing here? That's the king crab. Once a royal delicacy, now a ticking time bomb beneath Alaska's icy waters. And the story you're about to hear might just change the way you see the ocean forever. This is Real Shock, Invasive Royal Crab. How this $1 billion species is attacking Alaska's northern seas. The story of the king crab begins with a bold experiment, a gamble taken by Soviet biologists and fishermen working under the Soviet Fisheries Research Institute. Back in 1961, the Soviet Union launched a massive biological relocation project over nearly a decade. From 1961 to 1969, they transported more than 1.5 million larvae, 10,000 juveniles, and about 2,600 adults from the Kamchatka region of the Pacific Ocean to the Bering Sea, near Kola Bay. Their ambition was clear: to turn this crab into a biological goldmine, a new source of seafood wealth for the nation. At first, everything seemed quiet, but just a decade later, by the mid-1970s, the king crab proved unstoppable, reproducing naturally in the Bering Sea and spreading out of control. So, what makes them the perfect invaders? First of all, their sheer size, with leg spans reaching up to 6 feet and weights topping 22 pounds. They're true giants of the deep. Their armor is thick as iron, and those massive claws can crush even the hardest shells, and with a lifespan that stretches beyond 20 years. They've got all the time they need to multiply on an enormous scale. A single female can produce nearly 500,000 eggs in one season. When those eggs hatch, the larvae drift with the current spreading silently across the sea like a living tide. That kind of reproduction turns the king crab into a giant cloning machine. They eat everything in their path: mollusks, starfish, seaworms, even the eggs of cod, and, unlike most marine species, Alaskan king crabs face almost no natural predators. No shark, no killer whale. Nothing hunts them regularly. Free to breed, free to destroy. That's the perfect recipe for an invasive species. But while scientists sound the alarm over their spread, Alaskan fishermen see the boom as pure gold. To understand this paradox, we have to head out to sea, where king crab fishing isn't just a job. It's a battle for survival. Out here, humans go head to head with the ocean, and sometimes they pay with their lives. King crab fishing in Alaska is known as the most dangerous job in America. On the cold, unforgiving Bering Sea, one wrong move can be your last. Each steel cage, each crab pot, weighs more than 600 pounds. In fierce winds and on shaking decks, they turn into deadly weapons. One slip of the rope, one misstep, and a falling pot can crush a deckhand in an instant, hundreds of feet below the surface, where the water sits, just a few degrees above 0 Celsius. The king crab's weight. To reach them, fishermen face endless snowstorms, sleepless nights, and hands so numb they sting like needles in 20-degree below freezing air. Each shift can last 20 straight hours, with only a few minutes of restless sleep on the freezing, wet deck. And they can never let their guard down, because one slip into that icy water, and their chance of survival is less than 2 minutes. Pot rises from the freezing sea, it's a matter of survival. A pot filled with crabs can be worth tens of thousands of dollars. But sometimes, after hours battling the storm, fishermen pull up nothing but empty cages. Disappointment follows exhaustion, but out here, no one is allowed to stop. In the bone-chilling cold, blood and sweat mix with ice and snow. They keep going because behind every man on deck is a family waiting back home, and the hope of escaping poverty through this brutal fight with the sea. For Alaskan fishermen, king crab is more than a catch. It's a life-changing opportunity. But while their battle ends at sea, a new challenge begins on shore to transform these creatures into a luxury served on plates around the world. The work has to be precise, fast, and unforgiving. After days and nights of storms and sleepless shifts, the journey of the king crab is far from over. From the very moment it's pulled from the water, the clock starts ticking. Each crab must be processed within just a few hours, or its market value drops instantly. At the docks, fishermen separate the catch into batches. Only the largest, healthiest males make it to the processing line. The rest are released back into the ocean. A cycle designed to keep the fishery sustainable. Monster crab. Last day of the first trip, a deckhand calls out over the wind. We're still pulling pots 40 so far. Hopefully, we'll hit our goal of 30,000 crabs this trip. He laughs, tired but proud. It might fall a little short, but all in all, it's been one hell of a run. Laughter cuts through the cold air as they haul the final cage aboard. The men cheer, slapping frozen gloves together. The storm still rages, but for now, the deck is alive with relief. Every pot, every crab, every shout echoes one truth. Out here, fortune and survival are one and the same. I am a man. One fisherman mutas, his voice lost in the wind. A quiet reminder of the grit behind every catch. At the processing facilities lining Alaska's harbors, king crabs are cleaned and lowered into giant industrial steamers. Rapid. High temperature steaming locks in the meat's natural sweetness and keeps that firm, satisfying texture. Once cooked, they're instantly chilled in seawater, kept at 34 degrees Fahrenheit. Then carefully delegged and prepped for packaging. All right, heat up here. The foreman shouts over the roar of machinery. Each pound of crab legs can sell for between $40 and $50, depending on market demand. A single refrigerated container packed with these prized legs can be worth tens of thousands of dollars before it even leaves port. Within days, Alaskan king crab arrives in the world's largest markets, from supermarkets in Japan to five-star restaurants in Seoul and luxury banquet halls in New York and Los Angeles. On the dining table, king crab isn't just food, it's a statement of wealth and taste. A dish for the elite, for celebrations for those willing to pay the price for the ocean's red gold. Every bite carries the story of risk, danger, and survival from the edge of the world. But not everyone sees king crab as a treasure. For ecologists, its growing numbers are like a silent storm, because the more crabs there are, the more Alaska's fragile balance begins to unravel. King crabs are omnivores. They devour mollusks, sea worms, starfish, even cod eggs, vital food sources for native fish. A massive swarm can strip an entire stretch of seafloor bare in just a few days. In some regions, their spread has caused cod and herring populations to crash, costing other fisheries hundreds of millions of dollars. One species may bring nearly $1 billion a year to Alaska, but it also takes away the livelihoods of countless others. History offers a warning. In the Bering Sea, king crabs have spread westward, reaching the Norwegian coast. In only a few decades, native species declined, while the crabs multiplied without limits. Now, scientists fear the same fate could be unfolding in Alaska's northern waters. For every pound of crab lifted from the sea, a small piece of Alaska's ecosystem disappears, and that leads to one haunting question. Are we harvesting a resource or helping an invader destroy the ocean? In this paradox, money and ecology collide head-on. To truly understand it, we have to look at both sides. The enormous economic power of the king crab and the environmental cost Alaska continues to pay. The Alaskan king crab industry generates nearly $1 billion every year, with retail prices that can climb past $50 a pound. It stands among the most expensive seafood on Earth. Thousands of families depend on crab season, from deckhands battling icy seas, to factory workers onshore, to the crews loading containers at coastal ports. And that's the paradox, a single species that both feeds and takes. Catching more boosts the economy. But overfishing could wipe out the entire population. Cutting back protects the ocean, but leaves fishermen without their main source of income. In this fragile balance between economy and environment, there's no perfect choice. To keep that balance, Alaska depends on science and some of the strictest fishing regulations in the world. But the real question is, can humans truly control this billion-dollar crab? To prevent ecological collapse, the state enforces hard quotas. Only male crabs with shells larger than 6.5 inches are kept. Females and juveniles are released back into the sea. Entire fishing zones can be shut down overnight. It's a delicate dance between profit and preservation. If management ever becomes too lenient, the ecosystem will pay the price. The future of Alaska's king crab depends on whether humanity can maintain that razor-thin balance or lose it completely. Even with strict oversight, this so-called billion-dollar invader still leaves one haunting question behind. Move it, move it, watch your back, shouts a deckhand as the final load hits the truck. A species that's both a treasure and a menace, feeding thousands of families. Yet reshaping Alaska's fate, half a century ago, we threw them into the sea. Now, they've changed the ocean, and maybe us along with it. So the question remains, do we control the king crab, or does it control us? the weather's finally clearing up, a voice cracks through the radio. Looks like we still got a few crabs to catch, John. Danny, Peter, let's wrap it up. This is Real Shock. Thanks for joining our journey. If you've got questions about the king crab, drop them in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more incredible and mysterious stories of nature